It's 14 months since last I was here. When I stood in front of the mirror this morning, I thought, how do you tie a tie? We've seen so many changes in the world in those past 14 months. Many people's lives have been changed and sadly some have been lost. The way we go about life now is so much different, with mask wearing, social distancing, washing our hands till they're almost red raw, or to help each other not to catch the virus. No hugging, no shaking hands, no communal singing in church, and the government still don't know when they're going to allow us to do that. No refreshments, church is closed for 30 weeks or so. An online church presence. Our world has changed, but has it changed for the better? And this morning I want to talk about one thing that has not, nor will ever change. In verse 6 of the reading this morning it says, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. The one unchangeable thing is that Jesus is the way. I want us to cast our minds back 30 or 40 years, and I know, you can sit there and think, I can't go back that far. Well, you can, because I know most of it. You can go back that far. And you've just booked yourself a holiday in the UK, or a staycation as we call it nowadays. If you're going to travel on this holiday by car, once the booking had been confirmed, you would set about working out the route that you will have to take. Out will come the road atlas, some paper, something to write with. You knew your destination, you probably had a vague idea of whereabouts it was in the country, but unless you had been there before, you did not know the right way. This was the key to the happiness of your holiday. Get the route right and the holiday started smoothly. Get it wrong and the end could not come soon enough. So armed with your road atlas, your pen and your paper, you firstly find what page your destination is on. Now you need to work out how to get there from your home. You start with the easy bit because actually you probably know how to get the A19. You've probably been there several times before. So you start from the A19 and that's where the fun starts. On the road atlas, by the side of the roads, you will find what I call a stick. Part of your planning is to write down the little number that comes in between each one of these sticks, because that's the number of miles from that point to the next point. And as you keep going with writing all these down, at the end of it, all of your hard work will come to fruition, because you'll be able to add up all these little numbers and you'll be able to work out how far you will have to travel. And because you know how far you can travel, you can work out how long it's going to take you. If you're travelling with children, you've got to allow for what they call comfort breaks, usually every 2 hours. But don't start by thinking you need to stop every time the child says, are we there yet? Because we probably haven't even got out of Hartlepool by that time. But the route's finally been decided, the length of time it will take to calculate. You found the comfort breaks that you're going to stop at. It was probably time for a cuppa and a night's rest. You now knew the way, even though you had never been there before. And over the next few days, whilst you're at work, you probably mentioned that you booked your holiday, and in every office or every place of work, there's usually one person who has been everywhere, and they always know the best route. The word know is a slight exaggeration. What they mean is, this is how we went there. And whether this is the best way or not is really undecided. They would say, oh, are you going to go by the A66? That's how we went. And you mumble something just to shut the book really, and then when you get back home, out comes the road atlas again, and you recalculate your route going by the A66, because it was good enough for him, and then it must be the right way to go. And then you work it all out, you think, well, it's going to take us more time, it's going to take us longer, more petrol and everything else. Is it the right way or not? And no matter how long you start to look at these things, even all the time that you're waking up until your holiday, you've still got this nagging doubt at the back of your mind. Is my way the right way? Or his way, is his way the better way to go? You feel exhausted even though you've still got days to go to your holiday. Your stress levels will increase. But as that day gets even closer, you still have that doubt in your mind. Which way should I go? having listed all those roads on that piece of paper, you make it as though it is made of pure gold, because you don't want to have to do the exercise ever again. That piece of paper is your way to get where you're aiming to go. It is going to have a time of peace, happiness and togetherness with the one or the people that you love. The day before your journey, you read through your route again and you stick that piece of paper securely to your dashboard of your car so that you can follow it as you travel along, making sure that the air vents in an open window will not move or will not blow that precious piece of paper away. That will be a catastrophe beyond measure. And as the song says, my bags are packed and ready to go. So you've loaded up the cases into the boot of the car. The children are strapped into the rear seats. You've checked the tyre pressures, filled up the windscreen washer bottle, filled the tank with fuel. Your piece of paper is attached to the dashboard, and off we go. Now comes the test of your calculations. Have you missed a turn-off that you did not see on the map? Was your road atlas up to date? Will you encounter unexpected roadworks? How long will it really take to get there? In your mind you can see your destination, but you know deep down that there are uncertainties in your list of roads to take. The questions you have just asked yourself put doubt in your mind. Have I got it right? But we cannot do anything about this now except to follow the road or the way that we have planned. Any problems, we will need to overcome them as best as we can. And then after it all, when we finally reach our destination, we breathe a sigh of relief and think to ourselves, well, it was easy really. What was all the fuss about? Man, I wish someone would come up with an easy method of knowing the way. In modern times, should we book a staycation? To see how far we need to travel, we either get out our sat-nav or we access Google Maps on our smartphone. As we put in our postcode, up comes our route. Not only how far it is, but even how long it will take us to go. Many times there will be more than one way of actually getting there, and it will show you the different routes. And you can look at each one to see which is the best one to suit your personal needs, i.e. usually how many comfort stops are there on the way. And then should you encounter the office being there and I went this way person in your workplace, you've probably already seen the route that they would have used. But because your sat-nav or your Google Maps has told you the right way, you can take great pleasure in telling that person, oh no, I know the right way, Google Maps has shown me. Such a difference to how things used to be. Probably the same route that you would have calculated using your road atlas and your piece of paper and your pen, but without the time-consuming calculations that would have needed to be done. You see, sat-navs have brought a much-needed help to knowing the right way to go, but they are not always correct. There have been many cases reported how people have been directed down narrow country roads rather than a major road because it was the shortest distance between 2 points. That happened to me. We ended up following a Land Rover into a farmer's field, quickly shotting it into reverse gear and retracing my tyre marks as fast as I possibly could. And on one occasion we were travelling along a road which we'd been on only 2 years previously. We were following instructions on the sat-nav. The lady's voice came on, at the roundabout, take the second exit. Simple instruction to follow. But there was a problem. There was no roundabout. About 10 miles further down, the voice came on again, at the roundabout, take the second exit. Guess what? No roundabout. And that happened 3 times. Instead of a roundabout, the road went straight on. But there was a little slip road at the end, at the side of that major road. And I found out later that since we'd travelled upon that journey only 2 years earlier, the roundabouts had all been replaced because someone somewhere decided that it only slowed down traffic and they were hardly ever used. And so they took the roundabout out, made the road straight, put this little strip road up for anybody who needed to access the small villages that were next to it. I obviously should have updated my sat-nav before I set off. And then we all know that wonderful saying from years ago, all roads lead to London. And we now know that all roads don't lead to London. And if the signposts show that you are getting nearer and nearer to London when you're really heading for Edinburgh, then you're taking the wrong turn off somewhere. And that might sound ridiculous. It actually happened to someone that I knew who, as the distance to the London kept getting less and his wife was telling him and pointing out to him at each signpost, he insisted that, no, we're on the right road, dear. My turn up will come soon. Fortunately, his wife persuaded him gently to turn around and to go the right way. And it is well to remember that Jesus, in that verse that we read earlier, did not say, I will show you the way, or I will guide you in the way, or I am that way. He said, I am the way. And notice the use of the definite article in that statement. In a world that is filled with so many different religions, in a society that wants us to believe that all are equal, it's difficult for some to believe that there is only one way. After all, there is Buddhism, Hinduism, Mormonism, Judaism, Catholicism, Christianity, and a host of others. And we are being told by society that we must be tolerant of all other religions, beliefs, and practices. The new definition of the word tolerance is to accept as equal. But are all religions equal? Do all roads lead to eternal life in heaven, even though they all teach different things? Well, I wonder, why would Jesus come and suffer such a horrible death if there were other ways? And if there are other ways, how could Jesus claim to be the only way and still be considered that other religions? Many people look at this statement of Jesus saying, I am the way, as being too easy to be true. What? Just believing in Jesus would be the way for us to reach heaven? Can't be. It must be more complicated than that. And as I look at this verse, it really proves to me that salvation is for anyone and everyone. The way is so easy to follow that you do not need a university degree, 3 A-levels, 10 O-levels, or even any other high educational training. All you need to do is to hear about Jesus being the way, believe in him, and follow him. Before Jesus came to the earth, was executed even though innocent, and then rose again on day 3. Getting to heaven was much more complicated. It involved some form of payment and the shedding of blood. Jesus came to make the way easier. Mankind now has a choice. You can choose to follow the way that the Almighty, the Creator of the universe, has provided and gives as a free gift, or you can choose to believe and follow some other religion that promises you can earn your way there. But only one way is sufficient. Ephesians chapter 2 verses 8 and 9 says, "For it is by grace you have been saved, through faith, and this is not from yourselves, it is the gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast." We do not get to meet the Father in heaven by the works that we have done, but because of what Jesus did for us. And it is always good for us to remember this. To accept that Jesus is the only way baffles people, because they are so used to having numerous choices of everything. Just pop into any supermarket and see all the various types of tinned beans or peas or carrots or whatever that there are. And they're just the simple things. But Jesus made life easy and eternal life even easier. And with this statement when he said, "I am the way." And that's the key to reaching the Father in heaven, but also a future life of peace, happiness, and eternal life spent with the one that we really love, Jesus, who has done so much for us. But how can one man be the way? Excuse me. I want to tell you a story. There was a missionary who lost his way in the jungle. He couldn't find any landmarks at all, and his trail had vanished. Eventually he stumbled upon a small hut. He asked the native living there if he could lead him out. The native nodded. Rising to his feet, he walked directly into the bush. The missionary followed on his heels. For more than an hour, they hacked their way through a dense wall of vines and grasses. The missionary became worried. I think I'd have been worried before an hour, but never mind. He became worried and he said, "Are you sure this is the path? I don't see any path for us to follow." The African chuckled, and over his shoulder said, "Brother, I am the path." You see, the missionary had a choice to make. He could trust in this one man, or he could wander until his life was spent. He followed the man, expecting him to lead him to a nice track that would clearly take him back to civilization. But he doubted when he was led directly into the bush, and what happened to be, or what appeared to be, trouble, rather than the road to safety. The man who was leading him wasn't armed with any form of direction-finding equipment, but he used his knowledge to guide the missionary to safety. Now, I see this is the way that Jesus does. He uses his knowledge to guide us through difficult and sometimes overpowering situations along the way, and helps us to reach our destination, which is heaven. But how can we know there isn't another way? Well, this is a straightforward question, and when people are yet to meet Jesus, it's an understandable question. Many people have their own ideas of how to reach heaven, or do not even believe that there is an afterlife in the first place. And this is similar to the man in my first illustration, who always knew the best route to any place. People offer alternatives, but how good and secure are these alternatives? If we look back at the full sentence that Jesus spoke, we will see that it said, "I am the way and the truth and the life." He said that he is the truth, which is a whole study on its own, but suffice it to say that when Jesus says it is the truth, Jesus never lied. So we can always rely upon what he said. Jesus is the way, and you would think it easy to follow. Or if you think it is easy to follow, just go where he leads. But is it that simple? As you travel along a road on your car journey, there will be times when you see a signpost. There's something that you were heard of, something that you never knew where it was, but you've always promised yourself that you'll go there. And suddenly as you're travelling down the road, you see a signpost on the side and you think, "Oh, there's so-and-so. I've always wanted to go there. Yeah, what time is it? Oh, we're doing okay on our journey, let's go." And so you turn off the way that you've been heading, and you head to where you've always wanted to visit. You can always return to your route at a later time. And you see, these things are called distractions. And usually they only last for a short period of time. But if it is easy for us to allow so many of these distractions to keep becoming part of our journey, that the time comes when we've even forgotten where we were heading. This happens as we take our journey along the way. The enemy will put as many barriers or distractions in front of us, as so many as possible, to try to take us away from this journey along Jesus' way, trying to entice us to stop this journey and to follow his way instead. As well as distractions, we can also encounter barriers. Roadworks, traffic jams are notorious barriers on our road journeys and can slow us down considerably. They can even entice us to go off our chosen route and try a different way to get round this barrier and hopefully to get back on the right road. We might not know where we are going, but it's better than merely sitting in this traffic jam in a hot car for an unknown period of time. Several years ago, we were travelling to Great Yarmouth down the A1 and we encountered a traffic jam. The problems with the traffic jam are that we don't know why it has happened, how long it is, and how long we're going to be stuck there for. And on this occasion, we'd only edged forward a very short distance in quite a long period of time, and it was getting hotter and hotter. Even with the windows open in the car, it was getting quite warm. And of course, then you had the exhaust fumes of cars that were close by as well. I saw a slip road off to my left-hand side. And after a few seconds or so consideration, I decided that even though there wasn't a signpost telling me where that road would lead me to, I was going to take it. And I did. It was a pleasure to be moving again with the wind coming through the car windows, cooling us down. I noticed in my rear view mirror that several cars had followed my lead by taking this slip road. I am sure that we all assumed someone knew where they were going. I was at the front, so those following must have thought I knew the way. We encountered several signposts to places I had never heard of. We went through a few small villages that I hadn't heard of, not seeing a soul either. Before I saw a sign to Newark, and I knew Newark was a turn off on our major road. And so I followed this road to where it led. Looking in my rear view mirror, yep, the cars was all still following me. And as we journeyed, we went over a bridge, which happened to be a bridge going over the road that we were originally on. And under that bridge we saw the source of this traffic jam. There was a lorry underneath the bridge and it was on fire. Whoever was in that traffic jam was going to be in it for some considerable time. And I saw a sign as we journeyed down this road heading towards Newark, which pinpointed us towards the A1. We took it and we rejoined the A1 a short distance down from where we'd left it. Within a few seconds, these cars that were following me had started to overtake, and each one took their horn, thumbs up as they went past, all believing that somehow I had known where I was going, which I hadn't, but I had led them back to the right way, but was overcome the barrier that had been placed in our way. And when I look back at this incident, it's something that really happens in our life as well. It really was or could have been a foolish thing to do, to leave the chosen route and to head off into the unknown, because that's literally what I did. Even worse was that people were following me, assuming that I knew the right way. Fortunately, it turned out right. But I could look back now and realise that I could have been leading many people to get lost. But I also led them onto the right way. And we can do that in our lives as well. Sometimes in the actions or the words that we say, we can lead people away from God. But at the same time, we can also be doing and saying the right things. And we can lead people to the right way. The way that leads to heaven. And that is our challenge. I know the way is Jesus. But how many other people can I lead to follow that right way? The more confidence we show that Jesus is the way and the only way, the more I believe that we can lead and encourage others to follow. Our confidence can rub off on them, and they too can journey with Jesus, with heaven as their destination. Get it wrong, and we suffer the consequences. That applies even so much more to getting the right way to heaven. Jesus saying in the words, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me, are so important, as they clearly set out for us the way we face our future. There is no doubt from these words that the only way to the Father is through the Son. No ifs, no buts, no alternatives. Jesus is the way. And so friends here this morning, those of you at home, do you want some certainty in your life despite all the uncertainty that is happening around us? Get to know Jesus. He is the way to eternal life, spent in the company of the Father in heaven. God bless you all.